Alright, good afternoon, evening, or morning, wherever you are, everyone. Little different surroundings, but I am traveling on business right now, and I got a watch in, so I figured I'd make a video. Many of you will recognize this watch immediately. It's super iconic. This is a Breitling Breitling Aerospace. This is an anti-digi watch, as you can see. Let me just clean those polishes off, or clean those smudges off. But this is an anti-digi watch. Produced by Breitling since the 80s. It's still made today. I apologize if I bumped the camera. It's kind of an awkward setup right now. But yeah, so it's an anti-digi watch made by Breitling since the 80s. Brief overview of this watch. Was introduced in the 80s. Still said Navitimer, but looked like this, except I think it had symmetrical sized displays. And then the 90s, it said just Aerospace. In the late 90s, it switches to repetition minutes, which we'll get to in a minute. All these using an ETA-based quartz movement. Then in the mid-2000s, early to mid-2000s, switched to a super quartz from Breitling. And it said like chronometer Aerospace, and since then it's been pretty similar. It's grown in size recently, but it's made out of titanium, which is an awesome thing. Made of titanium. I'll try and keep that glare down. But one thing you'll notice that really struck me immediately, besides this dial, which is, I mean, just gorgeous, is the, I don't know if you've probably seen it, there it goes. It doesn't move regularly. There's no seconds hand. It just ticks every 30 seconds, which is nice as far as a minute hand. So it moves to, it's at the 37 now. It'll move to the 37.5 and the 38, which I think is nice because it makes sure that everything's all lined up and looks cool. Try and get it moving, but you can see that the display is very high contrast. It has kind of a yellowish orange numerals on a black background. You have a bi-directional rotating, let's see, it is it's a 60 click bezel, also titanium. It's got one crown, but it's got a lot of functions. We'll get into that. It's got a titanium bracelet. This is the professional line bracelet. They had a couple different versions. This one had a folding safety clasp, like a diver. The other one had like a spring-loaded, just friction clasp. This clasp is, I'll talk to it in a minute, but it's one of the weaker parts of the watch. But machined, the back has some conversions on it, and then your usual kind of nice Breitling logo. And yeah, so the way this works is the crown, if you spin it, changes the function of the watch. So you're right, we had the day and the date. This is you rotate down, you get the seconds and the date. This is the actual time, local time. This is the neutral position, which is nothing, which saves battery if you want to save battery. Alarm, it says off, and then has the time. You pull if you want to change, so the last functions we were just in, the last 4 or whatever, are considered like timekeeping functions, and those, if you pull the crown out, you do like setting of the watch and stuff. But here, if you wanted to, you could pull the crown out, and it would have this flashing. You could set it, and now see it says all, but if I push it, it says off. So you can push the crown in, and you access the alternate function or trigger, whatever. Keep moving. You get a chronograph. It has hundredths of seconds, seconds and minutes, and then once you get past 1 hour, it switches to your usual seconds, minutes, hours. I haven't tested how long this will run, but I mean, I'm assuming it's to either 24 or 99 hours until it runs out of space. You push it to stop. It's kind of like a modified mono pusher. Push it to start and stop. So you push it to start, you push it to stop, and then after you've stopped it, it only works after you've stopped it, you can hold it down and it'll reset. So next function is time 2, so you can pull the crown out here and it will show you just the hours, so you can jump between hours to whatever you want. I have it currently set to Eastern time compared to my time. And then a timer. So how this works, I'll set a quick timer for you, is you set to whatever you want, and then you push the crown in and it starts. So you can set this, I think, to 20, I think it was 24 hours. And we'll switch away, and you can hear when we get back to, it'll go off in a minute. But then we're back to day date, which is what I usually keep it at. So this watch is a nice, easy size. It's 40 millimeters. I think it has a really nice, conservative but sporty look. That blue dial is really amazing. There's no backlight on this watch, so the display doesn't work at night, and the lume is very mediocre. The repetition minutes feature is what I use when it's dark out, which we'll get to in a minute once this other timer goes off. But just wanted to give some size comparisons, so let's put it down and put some other watches I've got here next to it. So this is my other kind of beater go-to watch, the G-Shock Square Combi, and you can see it's a very similar size. I mean, obviously this is square, so the dimensions are very different, but the same relative size and similar thickness. This watch is very thin. Oh, hear that? That's the timer going off. Just push it in once to stop. Alright, so here is the Black Bay 36. So you can see that lug to lug is fairly similar, but this one's a little narrower, but this one is also a little thicker. And then you have the venerable SKX. This is my custom SKX. You can see the SKX is visually similar in size, but a little bit bigger and much, much thicker. So the minute repeater, for those of you who don't know this function, is a function by which the clock will chime off the hours, minutes, so you know what time it is, even though you can't see the watch. So I will put the watch really close because it's not super loud. It works great when you're in your bed, which I think is kind of primarily what this is made for. You know, laying in bed in the middle of the night, you want to know what time it is, so I'll push it. So you can hear in this one, this is about as, you know, one of the longest possible you know, iterations, but you have single chimes and a lower tone for the hour, and then dual tone high-low chimes for the quarter hour. So it had 7 low chimes, 2 high-low for 30, and then it counts out the minutes in units of 5. So it did 5 high tones, then another 5 high tones, and then one low, because it only does full minutes, or one other high, because it was like almost 42, and so it counted out 41 because it only does completed minutes. So it's not super efficient, but if you just wake up in the middle of the night, you want to know what time it is, it doesn't take much effort. You can just chime it, and it's not like you're in a hurry. So I love that feature. I know many people probably think it's useless, but I think it's nice. One thing to note is it does have, I just saw this so I want to mention it, hollow end links, but that plays into the weight of this watch. This watch weighs very little. I don't have a scale with me, but if I had to guess, I'd say it probably weighs somewhere between 50 and 80 grams. About as much as, almost probably about as much as my Tudor's bracelet by itself. You know, titanium, this watch doesn't weigh much, it's very light. It's extremely comfortable when I wear it. I don't take it off when I sleep. I take any other watch I own off when I sleep. It's just very comfortable. It's thin and light and fairly reasonable diameter, so it doesn't impede on your wrist motion in your sleep. You know, if you're sleeping with your wrist folded or whatever. Some people don't like the monochrome because it's fairly small, so to use it while it's on your wrist, it's a little finicky because of this this protrudence from the bezel. But one solution people do is just to leave it kind of cockeyed. If you're not OCD, then that gives you, you know, both sides access. I'm a little OCD, so what I do is I wear the watch just a little loose, and so then I can just get my finger underneath it, and you can see I can access all the functions of the watch. It's a little finicky from behind the camera, but you can see on my 6 3/4 inch wrist, it fits really nice. It's, I mean, just incredibly comfortable. Titanium is definitely one of those materials that's just, it's like made for being worn on skin. It's just very comfortable. It's warm to the touch. Doesn't irritate your skin like steel sometimes does. And I think that you know, beat up titanium takes a much nicer patina than like a scratched up steel watch. Steel watches get all smudgy and scratched and scuffed, You know, this watch has some scratches on it, but they don't look as obnoxious because it's just got that titanium matte finish. I think the dial on this watch is just absolutely beautiful. It's hard to take this watch off, honestly. It's just very useful. It's nice to have all those functions. I'll probably do another more detailed video detailing each of the functions once I've tested them all and seeing what they do. Another cool feature of this watch is that bezel. It has a very nice action, very simple and detented, but like almost zero play. And this is a watch from probably the late '90s, so just a phenomenal quality bezel. And I would highly recommend anyone that's looking for a kind of just a useful beater watch to definitely look at picking one of these up. I'll probably gonna test it once it gets a little cooler on a Marine Nationale strap. I think it'd be a great size. It has 20mm lugs, so it'll take whatever you want. But there you go. I didn't see a lot of videos on these on YouTube, so I want to make a quick video. I hope everyone liked it, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.